Welcome you, and we're glad to have you.
Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for coming to this feel-good lecture. You had one on embezzlement, now on healthcare fraud. So in the world, you're spending your Saturday morning wondering, okay, what are they going to hit us with next? Child abuse or something of that nature. There we are. I'm so thankful for the opportunity to be able to come here, Dr. Moore. Thank you for spending your morning here with me. And certainly I understand you have a lot of options as to where you could be here on Friday morning, and I appreciate you being here with me. If it's okay, let's have some fun while we do this. What happened to me was horrible. It was incredibly devastating to both me and my family, but that is not going to define who I am. It's not going to continue to imprison me, and a lot of this is going to be about that, as well as we're going to get into some nuts and bolts as far as how to put together records and billing systems so that you are protected. But before we get into that, I want to talk a little bit about prison. And this is not a prison with four walls and bars. This is a prison that we erect ourselves. Most of us, last night when you went to bed, there was something in your head that was the last thing you dealt with before you went to bed, before you fell asleep. And in the morning, there was something that when you woke up, you thought about. And that could be a wonderful thing, and I think that's great, but more often it's something that we are concerned with to the point that we are in prison of. We can be imprisoned by a relationship or by finances or anything. And by allowing that to take control of who you are and what you do is putting yourself in prison. I do have a little bit of experience with that. I did spend 19 months in prison, and I have been out for about 5.5 months. But as strange as that seems, I was released in prison from a lot of the things that were binding me prior to going. And we're going to talk a little bit about that today, and I want to encourage you. I'm going to preach at you, I'm going to teach, and we're going to share some things. And I hope that you get more than just the nuts and bolts of how to do things. I hope that by being here that we take a journey together. I'm going to share a bit about the story, what happened. I'm going to get into some things that relate to billing and coding, some of the errors that we made. And unlike Pauline, who did a wonderful job, I appreciate her sharing with that, I want to scare the crap out of you. I honestly, you need to be concerned because it's not any small deal. It is a huge deal. And the things that we do every day can have a significant bearing on our physical freedom in the future. There are things that we do every day in the dental office that we're probably unaware of that are fraudulent. Anybody scared you? Insurance billing clerks, raise your hand if you're afraid of it too. We'll talk a little bit about your part today. Doctors, we have several of those here. As far as raise your hand, please. We have assistants. And all of you are equally as important. Our offices are only as strong as the weakest of you. So I encourage, instead of battering one another, lift each other up, bring each other up. Do not put that other person in prison. Do not let anybody have any more control over your thoughts and your life than you allow them. People only have as much control over you as you allow them. People try to gain some kind of hold over your thoughts and your mind to manipulate you, and they can only do that as much as you let them. So let's today take this journey together and look at your life as it exists now, and practice as it exists now. Try to move forward from that, releasing ourselves, to be able to live a life that is free, one that we can actually enjoy and focus on the things that are important to us. It's better to be hurt by the truth than to gain satisfaction from lies. And the caption down there, have you ever come out of the bathroom with toilet paper on your shoes? Yeah? No? Okay. I'm going to be that person who is your friend who's going to walk up to you, stand on that toilet paper, lead you around, pull the toilet paper off your feet so you can not be that person who's embarrassed. There are people in your life who would sit, you think you're friends. Anybody heard of a frenemy? Frenemy. That's a person who on the outside acts as your friend, but truly does not have the best interests at heart. There are many of those around around. And this situation that I went through was so revealing. And I'm going to start with a story that kind of ties into how this began and a story of a true friend. And that's truly freeing to know the people that you can trust, the friends that are there, regardless of what happens to you. On October the 24th, 2003, I was at the American Dental Association meeting in San Francisco. I had flown out the evening before. I think it's 3 hours time change, so you get that time going out. I got to bed at about 11 o'clock, which is 2 o'clock air time. Got up at 7, and I went to the keynote address. I was so excited to go to this address. It was Rudolph Giuliani, former mayor of New York City, 2 years after 9/11. And if any of you followed that story, of course, New York was a beacon. They were devastated, but the city came together under the guidance of Rudolph Giuliani. He spoke on leadership. And I was rapt. You know how you listen to somebody and you lose track of time. You're just focused. You are right there in the moment. And I was right there in the moment when the person next to me was elbowing me, and I kind of looked up and said, "Your phone's vibrating." I was so out of it, I didn't even know. And you know, your phone vibrating a lot of times can be louder than a ring. I don't know if you've experienced that. It was in the middle of this lecture, and it kind of startled me for a moment. I thought, well, I'm going to wait to answer this until after this is over. And I was a little concerned because nobody had my cell phone except family as far as that goes, and I knew it was my wife, and I thought, well, maybe she just lost track of time inadvertently. So I waited for the talk to be over, and like I said, he was amazing. He knocked it out of the ballpark. So I sat down again after the standing ovation, and I opened my phone, and sure enough, it indicated it was my wife. So I dialed my wife up, and you know, when you know somebody really well, even what they don't say is so important. The phone rang, she answered, and there was a moment of silence. And in that silence, without a word being said, I knew there was something wrong. And the first words out of this lady's mouth, and this is the most together lady you've ever met. To be married to me, you have to be. You know, opposites attract, and I hear that there in a way. And to let you guys know, the ADD test that they give, that's the only test I've ever made 100% on. So if I get off track, if somebody's paying attention, please draw me back. But I was sitting and answered the phone in silence. Her first words were, "Roy, are you sitting down?" Anybody had a phone call like that? And like I said, my wife is wonderful. She's very conversant, and you ladies are so terrific. You think differently than men do, and in the nurturing aspect, you're trying to cushion that whatever you're going to give that other person. So you're going to try to get them to a point where they're ready to accept it. Point to your ladies. Men don't want that. we want to know what it is. But knowing my wife, she, you know, and in that interim afterward, you know how your mind goes in overdrive. And I was thinking, we have kids. One of them is hurt. I have elderly parents. Something's happened to them. Something awful has happened. And all that pouring in my mind and waiting for her to get to the point, and my response basically was, "Do I need to be?" And she said, "Well, you